sometime till 3:30 she had lab. And then tomorrow she has Oh,
Oh, yes, oh, yes, oh, yes. It's been the Worcester County Board of Commissioners is now in session. Pursuant to adjournment, Honorable Chairman Craig Medley is presiding. Come to order, remain standing.
Thank you, Sheriff. Our first order of business this evening is our prayer led by Commissioner Huffine and our pledge led by Commissioner Johnson.
Let us bow our heads. Dear Lord,
We come to you with grateful hearts and humble respect. We thank you for all the blessings you bestow on us every day. Tonight, we simply ask you to guide us in everything we do. Lord, allow us to put our own prejudice, thoughts, and desires aside. Make decisions, Lord, that will honor you and be in the best interest of the citizens of this county. In Jesus Christ's name, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you have not done so this evening, if you'll log in and indicate you're here this evening on our voting screen.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening, Council.
I'm going to put one of these on each and say, it's sugar.
Okay.
Did you get one?
Yeah, I'm just. We have 14 present, no one absent. Our next item is the approval of the agenda. I do have one proposal for you to consider this evening. If there's more, we'll consider those. Commissioner Jones?
Well, I was gonna approve the agenda, but I'm gonna do one amendment.
Well, I have two. So if we want to go ahead and consider yours first, we will. So let's do that, Commissioner.
I would like to, go forward with an amendment that we defer the resolutions regarding County Farm. If and only if the chairman would approve that we allow speakers on this topic, since I know that some speakers did sign up to speak on this topic. The county on property committee has been working on this position of the farm for over a year. We did not meet in August, so we do not have any new information that could be helpful to the commission in making a decision on those items today. I'd like the items deferred to the November meeting, during which time county on property from now till November can answer a number of important questions about the property's assets and options and bring the whole commission a proper idea of the future of the farm. And I would like to just also defer to Commissioner Evans, who, this is his district where the farm is located. I know he's been working closely with constituents there, and also think he has a desire to see additional information right forward before we have a discussion of these issues.
So I guess your motion would be just to strike it off the agenda this evening? Is that what it would be?
What I said was, yeah, defer till November, specifically.
Okay.
Actions for the county and property committee.
Would we need to handle that motion separately?
I would say with both, if it was, it would be an amendment to the agenda with, if that motion gets a second. Because you have an agenda, so you can't take the motion.
Well, I have it. There's no second. No problems, right?
And then that would be the thing, this change of the hybrid.
So I'm gonna vote on this one.
Yes.
All right. Mr. Jones, it's probably better if we just take this as an amendment and go ahead and vote on this separately from the agenda, since we do have several items for amendment. Do we have a second on the amendment? Seconded by Commissioner Tamita. All in favor of deferral to the November meeting of the County-Owned Property Committee signify by saying aye. All opposed? That item will be deferred till the November meeting of the County-Owned Property Committee meeting. Commissioner Jones, just to clarify, that was both the resolutions for unity or did we just have the one for?
There are three resolutions. It's 2406-5, 2407-3, 2407-4, and 2407-4.
Okay, thank you. All right, we still have an agenda to approve. Commissioner Wheeler, did I see your hand up?
Yes, sir, I was gonna move to approve with the, you mentioned you had suggested.
I do. I'll just go over there quickly. Well, actually, I was counting one change as Commissioner Jones's, so I just have one, actually. There's been several questions this week, and me and the county attorney have reviewed this for a month now, and it just needs to come up and it needs to be an item discussed, so the entire commission can weigh in on this item. Under new business, I would like to add the discussion of an appointment of the 9th District Commissioner. There's just some questions I feel like the commission needs to answer. Commissioner Wheeler?
That change along with the one of the.
All right. Second by Commissioner Tejeda. Any further amendments? Commissioner Wexler?
Yeah, I just wanted clarification. When you say you wanted to postpone the three resolutions on the county farm till the.
November. Well, they would be deferred to the committee meeting, but it would come back to the commission in November.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wanted to make sure.
All right, any further questions before we vote? All in favor of the agenda with the proposed amendment signify by saying aye. All opposed? And the agenda is approved with those amendments.
We didn't look at where that was, but I think you mentioned new business.
I did mention new business. Yes, that's where I had placed it tentatively on my agenda. So that item will come up under new business. All right, we'll move right on into public comments. We'll go ahead and recess for that. We do have several this evening for public comment. 7 to be exact. I've had several requests to know how many people were speaking, and that's something I got done tonight. So thank you all for reminding me. Our first speaker is Tammy Cloyd. Tammy, if you'll come forward to the podium and give your address to the clerk. Each person will have 3 minutes to address the commission on agenda items. Hang on, Tammy. Let me get your speaker on there. All right.
Thank you once again for this opportunity. My name is Tammy Cloyd. I live at 1905 Highway 81 South, Jonesboro, Tennessee. The commissioners and our chairman should have received a petition in your email with a total of 545 signatures concerning the county farm and for it not being put up for sale, but being used as green space or as for a park. I'm going to read a few things that while I was personally getting signatures for the petition, 3 words were repeated over and over and over again: asset, future, and maintain. Asset, for example, in the dictionary is property owned by a person, company, or organization having a debt, commitment, or a legacy. Personal agenda is not mentioned. Future. Example in our dictionary was the time or period of time following the moment of speaking or writing. Time regarded as yet to come. A quote used numerous times is, and I'm quoting, "The best is yet to come." May our county government preserve our county farm for because the best is yet to come. Maintaining was another word that I heard when talking to over 200 people. Keep in existing state. The county farm has not been maintained for many, many, many years. Mr. Collins has done the best without a lot of the county's help. Our county has not invested their time, money wisely. Just paying a light bill is not maintenance. Personally, if I do not invest my time, money, energy I will not have a return on my investment. Washington County, Mr. Grandy, our mayor and commissioners, please invest your time, money, and energy into our county's asset, future, and legacy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, our next speaker is Tess Lloyd. Tess, if you'll come forward to the podium, please, and give your address to the clerk.
Hi, my name is Tess Lloyd. I live at 296 County Farm Road in Jonesboro, beside the county farm. I am a professor emerita at ETSU, and in 2005, one of my graduate classes in Appalachian Studies did an oral history project on the county farm. So the county farm and I go way back. Tonight, I want to speak about the economic benefits of making a park at the county farm. Now, I know that Washington County doesn't have a parks department. And I also know that keeping the county farm building open costs the county a lot of money, and that renovating or demolishing the building would be costly. But that doesn't necessarily mean that selling the county farm is the best answer or the only answer to the problem. Instead, creating a park at the county farm could have real economic benefits for Washington County. Parks can be a valuable addition to the economic infrastructure. Last week, I spoke with Tom Lamb of Tennessee's Office of Outdoor Recreation, and he said that his department was created to provide outdoor recreation as economic development. That's how valuable the state of Tennessee sees parks. Mr. Lamb told me he'd be happy to meet with county officials to discuss a park at the farm. There are other organizations that Washington County could partner or consult with on preserving the county farm as green space. The Nature Conservancy, for example, or the 10 Green Land Conservancy. The Southern Appalachian Highlands Conservancy will pay for a conservation easement on property it acquires. Also, there is a lot of grant money out there for park development from the state of Tennessee, federal agencies, and the private sector. There are even grants for counties that lack a parks department. The local community and other people in Washington County overwhelmingly support a park at the county farm. Our current petition says it all, 545 signatures opposing the sale of the county farm, and instead asking that the farm be preserved as green space or park. It's good economic sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Tess. All right, our next speaker this evening is Joe Hodges. Joe, if you'll come forward to the podium, please. And give your address to the clerk.
I'm Joe Hodges. I live at 707 Hillrise Boulevard in the district formerly represented by Susie Williams. The reason I'm here before the commission tonight is Jack Williams made an unexpected trip to Nashville. His grandchildren took him down there, or he would be here tonight to address this, and he has asked me to come and speak for him. He's actually watching on the live feed. We understand that state law mandates that Susie's seat be filled by October 22nd, if it would be the commission's desire to do that. And Jack has called and spoke to several of you commissioners, and he would like to now put it formally out there that Susie's wishes, when she first got sick, was to either have Mrs. Getz or David Stout to fill her position if she had to step down. And then with her untimely death, she didn't get to fully execute that. So what Jack Williams is asking the commission to do is to consider, if it would be your will, to go ahead and fill this position with David Stout for the interim time that'll be left prior to the election. Does anybody have any questions?
So we can only hear from you today.
Okay, I've got to step out, but I'll be back in just a few moments.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you
your
very
time.
much. All right, our next speaker. Okay, our next speaker is Catherine Hopper. Catherine, if you'll come forward and give your address to the clerk, please.
Hi, my name is Catherine Hopper, 671 Old Embryville Road, Jonesboro, Tennessee. I'm here to bring us back to the beginning of why is this even occurring? Why is this issue of changing things happening? If the maintenance was done as it should have been along the way, it wouldn't be in disrepair. So instead of incurring all the extra cost of having to worry about traffic and parks and the maintenance of all these other items, getting water, safety issues for possible homeless shelters, all these other things are going to cost more money. What in the end happens when this is all done, if it gets changed? Tax revenue. Well, you don't have the tax revenue for it now, but yet you have the benefit of having the animals taken care of. You have the benefit of the neighborhood being hayed and it not being a fire hazard. So back to the basics. Why is this happening? How much money are you really needing to spend? Should have spent to begin with? You got 2 generations of the Collins family taking care of this. What's going to happen to the animals? What's going to happen to the families that have been taking care of this? I think we forget sometimes, we lose sight of the important parts of our history and preservation. What are we preserving? We should be preserving the only area in Tennessee that has this commodity. And it should be highlighted for Jonesboro and for Washington County. But it's not. Instead, we're looking at other ways to take this into a new level, selling off lots. And I'm not saying some of the lots shouldn't be sold off, but at the same time, what are they being sold for? And yet, we're taking away this wonderful commodity again. We're taking away a lot of things, and we're adding again the maintenance of roads, traffic, safety, which have been discussed before. But that's really what I just want to focus on, is going back to the beginning. And yes, as you guys said in the prayer in the beginning, make sure that we make the right choices for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next speaker is Philip Brandt. Philip, if you'll come forward to the podium and give your address to the clerk, please.
Philip Brandt, soon to be 148 Jimtown Road, a couple more months. Thank you for this opportunity. I'd like to ask the people in the audience, how many people support?
Mr. Brandt, we can't poll the audience.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I didn't know that.
That's okay.
Okay.
It happens.
Okay.
Thank you.
I've been actively participating. My goal was to establish a county park. And so I still have a strong feelings about that. It would benefit the community as a whole. This is a unique opportunity to provide for the entire community. And I'm curious, I still don't understand the process. If we put it out for bids, it's a sealed bid, are we required to take the low bid? This assumes that the property is going to be sold.
We can address that later on.
Okay.
They can't answer you back. This
Oh.
is public comment.
Okay.
So this is your opportunity to
Okay.
talk. Hopefully, in the meeting, as we go through, we can answer some of these questions that come up here this evening.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
That's one of the reasons these things are better heard in committee sometimes. So that's why we're going to send that back to committee and be sure and attend those county-owned property meetings. So it's a little bit more
Thank you.
open. Thank you. We appreciate
I
you
learned
coming.
something tonight. I appreciate that.
No, we appreciate you coming. All right, our next speaker is Deborah Cruz. Deborah, if you'll come forward to the podium, please.
Hello, my name is Deborah Cruz. I live at 430 Emma Grace, and I'm a small business owner in Jonesboro. My position on the future of the county farm comes from a community that I hear from, and not only my own belief, but also from documented research on the importance of recreation on our overall health. I've owned the Corner Cup for 8 years. It's a hub, it's a gathering place for locals, transplants, new arrivals. And a common repeated question that I receive in there is, where's a good place to hike? Where's a good place to walk? Where can I take my dog? Where can I take my kids? I talk to a lot of people about health, the importance of walking every day, the importance of getting out into nature to decompress our lives. Have you heard the saying that a day of catching no fish is better than a day of no fishing? Why is that? That's because it is shown that being outside in nature helps to reduce stress, anxiety, depression, and encourages physical activity. In my 18 years of living on Emma Grace, the county farm's future has come up about every 8 years. And every time we have stood in front of you and asked the same thing, to preserve the land and the historic farm for the people to use. Our population is growing rapidly around here, as we all know. The needs for updated infrastructure, resources, services, houses should not overshadow the need for parks and green space and recreation opportunities. We have a slice of green space that could be preserved and used to benefit the people, overall health, and create recreational opportunities. It is full of diverse environmental diversity, and historical education value. Looking at the long term, preserving the county farm and creating a park or green space setting that can be utilized by many people for many years is the wiser decision for the people of this county. Maybe it is time to look at a possibility of a rec department within the county, because it will continue to be needed service in the future. And in closing, just for the record, myself and many people in this room are not against unity. We simply believe that the county farm is not the best location for unity. Placing homeless people in a rural setting, rural location, without access to the resources that they need is not only unfair to them, but it is not a smart or wise business decision. I support their cause, but I think the location is the wrong choice. The end. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Scott Hurley. Scott, if you'll come forward to the podium, please, and give your address to the clerk.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of commission, Mayor Grandy, and County Attorney Wilkinson. My name is Scott Hurley. I'm here on behalf of the Carnegie Hotel at 1216 West State of Franklin Road here in Washington County and Johnson City regarding Resolution 24-04-07A, which I believe you have in front of you tonight on the old business agenda. I'm not here to complain about the tax or to offer any comments regarding the tax itself, but rather the implementation of an effective date. On behalf of the Carnegie Hotel, we are one of 21 hotels in Washington County, and we were informed back in April that there would be the implementation of a county tax for all bookings, reservations, all sums collected by the hotels related to hospitality here in the county. We were notified on by letter that we received on July the 22nd that we should start collecting that tax effective August the 1st. And we were provided on July the 22nd with a return form to fill out for that purpose. We acknowledge that we intend to start collecting that tax, but we requested respectfully an abeyance of a short period of time to December the 31st to actually start that process. We have a large number of third-party vendors that we have to work with, internet companies, other vendors that we work with, that we have to communicate that tax to the public that rents rooms from the Carnegie. We also have a large number of companies that we market with and through that we have to notify of that additional tax and begin the process of implementing that collection. And just as importantly, we have a lot of people that book with us in advance, sometimes months in advance, groups, special events, and others that we are required to quote a price to in advance. Sometimes we collect that price up front and we're paid up front, and that constitutes the contract that we have with them. Sometimes we collect that sum at the time of the event, and we're put in a position of adding that amount to the sum that they're to pay to us for the event. We will do whatever you instruct us to do, and we will go about that. We obviously can't alter our contracts with those that we have booked with for the busiest part of our season, which is typically the fourth quarter. So if you instruct us tonight that we've got to start collecting or start paying that effective August the 1st, we will simply have to absorb that cost. We won't be able to pass it on. It wouldn't be, number one, contractually appropriate, nor would it be proper for us to do that with folks that we've already contracted with. However, if you would grant us till January the 1st to implement the tax, that being the effective date, we can certainly write that into all contracts that we proceed with in calendar year 2025. We will do whatever you instruct us, but we would respectfully request this additional time to implement this change. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that'll conclude our public comment. Oh, Commissioner Jones?
Chairman, respectfully, I received a letter from Community Housing just shortly before the meeting that could stand as their public comment. Short, love treated. I don't know if that's breaking with any rules, but I think that it would be useful to the audience and commissioners that are here tonight, as opposed to waiting and disseminating it through committee, which takes a little bit longer to get to that.
I think since they did not sign up to speak, it would be but we could discuss it Commissioner Jones, maybe later on in the meeting when we come out of public comment.
Outside county owned property, that.
I think, yeah, I mean, I think
Really great. Appreciate your concern.
absolutely. All right. We're still in our, we'll move into our public hearing portion. We do have a rezoning to consider. That was a rezoning, that was resolution 240802. It was a rezoning request in the 7th Civil District, presently owned by Sam Kite. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this request? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. We'll go back into regular session. Ms. Charles, if you'll come forward and answer any questions that the commission may have about this rezoning.
Thank you. Rezoning we have tonight, the property owner is Mr. Sam Kite, and the petitioner is our sheriff. And the property is approximately 8 acres in size. And the request is to rezone to the A3 Agriculture Business District to accommodate a shooting range, which is one of the uses that is allowed as a permitted use in the A3 district. The Planning Commission did recommend approval of this rezoning unanimously. Additionally, we did not receive any opposition to the request, but I would be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Any questions for Ms. Charles? Thank you. And we appreciate you being here this evening. All right. Do we have a motion to consider the resolution? A motion by Commissioner Huffine, second by Commissioner England to approve the resolution. Any questions or discussion? Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen. Go ahead and cast your vote. Lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote. 14 yes, and the resolution passes. Move right on into special recognition and proclamations. Mayor Grandy. Mayor, I know you all have been busy. Lots of things going on at the mayor's office.
We do have a few things, but tonight we're gonna have a chance to celebrate an event that took place over the course of the month, and that is the County 101 second version, 101.2. And Mary Ellen has put together a little PowerPoint to show some of the things that went on during that session. So if you'll just indulge us, then we're gonna have presentation of certificates to the folks who participated. So Washington County 101, you've heard a little bit before. This is the second year. This is classes that have been run, put together by Mary Ellen. She did a great job. And so the first night, we actually held it this year at the health department, and we had the election commission come and talk. Obviously, election, big topic this year. There were a lot of questions. And as always, Dana does a fabulous job with that. Following that, then we took a tour of the health department. Really, if you hadn't been over there, sometime you ought maybe just touch base with Sydney. She'd take you on a quick tour. It's a beautiful building. It's had a couple of renovations. And I think the folks who visited the facility were very much impressed. We also added first responders to this evening. So we had EMA. Oh, they're not first responders. But we did have, I should say that we had a couple commissioners come to most every meeting, and that was great. But we had 911, EMS, and EMA all do a little presentation about what they do. And this is part of government most people don't think about very often. But after that, they went out and had a chance to see an ambulance and a crash truck and had a big time. Night two was just general government presented by a bunch of elected officials talking about the things that they do every day, again, that most people don't think about. How government works just a little bit, what happens in the trustee's office, what happens in the clerk's office, register of deeds, the building officials and codes enforcement. All of these people got a chance to tell what they do. Third night was the judicial system. So that was held over right here in this very building. And we had Brenda Downs, the clerk of the court, speak. We had Chancellor Rambo speak. Several of our judges, Judge Rice and Judge Street in the circuit court, and Judge Lauterbach also from the circuit court, and Judge Mingo from our sessions court. So a little bit about how all that works. So we wrapped up with the always fun and exciting evenings with the Sheriff's Department, a great meal, information about what they do and how they go about doing it and how they build their department. And the best of all, the opportunity to play with the dogs and go into the detention center not having to stay. So that was sort of the wrap, and we always save the best for last. And Sheriff, thank you, and Captain Judy, thank you for what you do. We appreciate you all entertaining these folks because it's always one of the best nights to play with. So we're going to ask the participants to come forward so that we can present these certificates. Mary Ellen is going to read your names. I'm going to try to figure out who you are and hand you the certificates.
Thank you. And I don't know if you saw the last slide, but it was a big piece of pie, a whole pie, a 100. 100% of the people that filled out the survey from this class all said that here it is, they would recommend County 101 for the future. So thank you very much. We really appreciate you all, and we appreciate you coming tonight. So we're going to do this high school graduation style. I'm going to read the name, and the mayor is going to present you with your certificate. And I think the sheriff has a T-shirt for you as well. So should they just keep on filing towards you then? Okay. However you want to do it. Okay. So first person is Genevieve Allison. Congratulations.
Jen is one of our very own. She works with us at the detention center and behavioral health area that the sheriff has expanded a great deal. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you. Next is Sylvan Bruni. Arlene Bazzelli. Kathy Cartier-Worley. Is Kathy here? I know one or two couldn't make it. Andrew Cook. Next is Sharon Franco. I don't think I saw Sharon. Next is Robert Gopal. Thank you. Robin Harp. Scott Jeffers. You know, Scott reminds me, we had a lot of veterans in this class too. Quite a few. Thank you all for participating. Taylor Johnson. Laura Kelly. Michael Malaysia. Sharon McGee. Lynette Patton, and hold on, because there's going to be two on this one. Lynette and Basila Patton. Basila, her baby, has perfect attendance. This baby attended every single class. Congratulations. Amanda Phoebus. Amanda here. Craig Rudy. Leslie Sampson. There we go. Michael Tyler. Joseph White. Steve Yantochka. We got that right.
Also one of our folks over the election. Thank you for it.
Thank you all. After you get your t-shirts, we'll go out in the hall and grab a photo. Thank you so much for supporting this, commissioners.
Alumni here, if I remember, Jim? Yeah. He's from 101.1.
Huh? Mary Ellen? Do what?
Pass on there before.
Oh, good. I got you. All right, we will go ahead and move right on along into our Board of County Commission minutes for the July 22nd meeting. The Board of County Commissioners. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Carter, second by Commissioner Fitzgerald, to accept the minutes of our last meeting. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. All opposed, the minutes are accepted. Go right on into the elections and appointments and confirmations. Resolution 240803 is a resolution appointing Richard A. Thompson as Superintendent of Highways for Washington County, Tennessee. Do we have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Eden, second by Commissioner Fitzgerald to approve the resolution. Question or discussion? Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you announce the vote. 14 yes, and the resolution passes. Our next item is election of members to serve on the Committee on Committees report. This is the time of year that we elect committee on committees, and it's time to serve. Commissioner Edens?
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we declare the committee on committees as is.
Right. Okay, we have a motion to keep the committees the same. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Tucker. Question or discussion?
Point of clarifications, is the intent to keep the committee on committees the same, or is the intent to keep the committees committee on committees?
All right. All right, question's been called. All in favor of leaving the committees the same, the committee on committee, the same as it was last year, or the same were selected as last year, signify by saying aye. All opposed? The motion passes, and that will, the committee on committees. Yes, could you read those, please, and we'll enter those. Do you have? I remember us going over those. And we'll have to go back to the resolution. And
Let's see. I'll look to Commissioner Edens to confirm, just from my recollection on the fly here, it was Commissioner Edens, Commissioner England, Commissioner Davenport, Johnson, and who am I missing from last year who served on the Committee on Committees? Was it Carter?
Tamita, Commissioner Tamita.
Thank you.
Oh.
Very good.
Thank you, Commissioner Carter. We was going to
Very
go
good.
dig up that dusty resolution out from last year.
So then, just for everyone's benefit, Commissioner Eden's motion is to have the following commissioners serve on committees. And they are Commissioners Tamita, Davenport, England, Carter, and Johnson. Thank you.
All right. Right, our county mayor's report. Mayor, you just got back just in time.
I don't have a report, but I just somebody has.
Oh, but I would like to commend Mary Ellen on what a great job she's done. She's with our County 101 mayor, and you too. You put a lot of work in that time. We appreciate you doing that. We're gonna brag on her some more when she gets back in here, so, we'll catch her just here real soon. Our next item is the county attorney's. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Johnson.
I have a question for the mayor.
Oh, okay. You thought you was off the hot seat, Mayor.
Just an update on the city building.
Oh.
Where we're at on that.
If you have any specific questions, the architect has pretty much finished up working on the library portion of that building and is close. He's supposed to deliver to us this week the drawings for the demousing walls that will allow us to take that to bid to get those built. And we hope to have those bids back by the end of September, construction going. We'll likely be closing on the existing library in October. So about the city building, but it sort of dovetails. And after that, we'll be paying rent. So the focus is to sort of hustle this construction through. But the library group hired a consultant to help them with their design and layout. We have an architect on board from Thompson & Litton that has been working with our team as well as them to try to come up with a suitable size, walls, allow those walls to be put in place so that the existing zones for heating and cooling line up, so to reduce the cost of their implementation into the building. They will have an amazing space. So we've had discussions with Northeast State about utilization of the kitchen portion and several other spaces in there for their classrooms and offices. They have now are in the process of applying to PBR and to Southern School Association or something in order to get accreditation to have a culinary course there. If all that comes to fruition, we will be engaging in a lease with them for that kitchen space where they'll not only take our students, our current high school students, and take them to the next level in culinary, but also be able to provide a catering service to events in that building. That's about all I have on that right now. Is there anything specific?
That is.
Commissioner Blunt?
Actually, I'm going backwards tonight. I don't necessarily have questions of the mayor, although I'm grateful for your support of the 101 program. Thank you. Now, Mr. Chairman, I'm going backwards. I actually made a note on my agenda potentially to keep the same committees. Now, I know the motion that passed this committee on committees. I'm just curious, since we're going to have another committee on committees this year, normally we go through and rank preference of committees. I just wondered if we were going to do that.
We're gonna hand those out here. We're probably gonna recess just a minute to do that, since you brought that up, so, we'll get that done here in just a few minutes. Our next item is the county attorney's report. Ms. Wilkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did not prepare you a written report this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions. There's, as most of you know, lots going on in Washington County, much of which goes through the county attorney's office. Ms. Green is out of the office this week. Sherry did work with Tiffany to have those ballots with you. She was down there on the floor and came up without handing them out after you kept your committee on the same. So we'll have those for you at your convenience for you to fill out. But if you have any questions about any of the resolutions or anything else in my office, I'm happy to help. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Wilkinson. Any questions for Ms. Wilkinson before we move on? All right. We'll go right on into the director of the health department, Ms. Butterfield. Director Butterfield here with us this evening. See her. Director of Schools report, Director Boyd.
Make a comment about the health department.
Absolutely, Mayor.
We have two projects at the health department right now. One is replacement of HVAC equipment in the facility. That has been designed and is ready to go to bid. That's courtesy of a grant from the state. There's also another project taking place that will be, if you see construction behind the health department, there's a building that will begin construction here shortly, hopefully to finish up somewhere around the first of next year. It is a drive-through immunization center. So we know if we have one, we'll never need it again, which is good. In the meantime, it'll be used for other purposes that the health department sees fit. It's not real big, but that is also compliments of the state of Tennessee with a $1.1 million grant. It's taken a little bit to get it in budget, but that GRC will be the contractor on that project. And so if you see something going on back there, that's what that is. And if you know of a dentist looking for something to do 3 or 4 days a week, we could use a dentist at the health department.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Director Boyd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Provided you all a written report for your review if there's any questions of any items on there. And also, in addition to questions, I would appreciate your feedback. If there are things that I include in the monthly report that you think are not worth your time, or if you have things that you would like for me to include, please reach out to me. Be glad to make any modifications so it'd be useful to you. Just quick updates. On our current capital projects, the football stadiums are nearing the end. We expect the full punch list to be done and completed by the end of October, but it is operational. We had our first home game at David Crockett High School with approval of most areas. We still have some areas under construction, but by the Musket Bowl in 2 weeks, essentially almost 2 weeks, September 6th, we expect that stadium to be fully operational. There may be a few hiccups we hit, but for the most part, the event went well Friday night. The area was very functional. I look forward to all of the facilities being fully operational. And then as far as on the Daniel Mood side, their first home game is September 13th. And we're looking at like we'll hit the mark, but if we have to make some tentative arrangements, portable restrooms and so on, that certainly will be done. But the stadium, the actual grandstands will be safe and accessible. The other capital projects we're about to begin is the safety vestibules for both high schools. In the process of working with school administration, the district team and the contractor and architect, just to coordinate all the logistics about an active construction site in a school that has to maintain daily operation safely and securely. So we'll be working with them to kick off the actual work soon. Yes, sir.
What's the enrollment trend? I know a crazy thing happened. You got David Crockett and Boone with the exact
Pretty close.
Exact same number of students.
Pretty close. That number fluctuates. It's changed a little bit since then, but they're very close. Both are. We're right now, I think today's numbers were under 8,100. So it's kind of leveling out. By the end of this month, we have a little bump sometimes that happens after Labor Day, especially if anybody's moving from the north and northeast, because historically they don't start till after Labor Day and they arrive surprised that we've been in school a month. But we will have a few that a bump probably as we expect after Labor Day, but it's close to what it's going to look like for the next.
Compared to last year?
When you compare the same dates, it's about 100 less, but it's more than the end of the year numbers that we ended with. So it's holding steady. Yes.
Wasn't it over 100% last year, if I'm correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it has. We have, a little dip. It's still at 100. I mean, it's still right at 100%. We did move a program out of Ridgeview and back to Boones Creek Elementary School just because of the space concerns, and we had space at Boones Creek. That made a little difference in the enrollment.
What about the future with all this development and housing coming in, Gray? I know you looked at it. When
Yes.
will the redistricting start, or will it start soon? Or?
Yeah, and yeah, I certainly, of course, take the blame for any delays. We should have already been in those conversations. We're in a good spot. We just need to make sure we have decisions made, and with those decisions, we have community dialogue so everyone's informed. And the goal would be, there needs to be a clear plan to the public by the 25-26 year if we're going to implement. We need to give our families in the community a year notice if there's going to be any significant changes.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Oh, Commissioner Davenport?
I was looking on your report here, the Boones Creek Athletic Fields.
Mm-hmm.
And you have no funds, for work completed during this time.
Right.
So our funding mechanism is through Jonesboro. And then Jonesboro funds, you all worked out.
Yeah, I'm confident it'll get worked out. It's just, I just wanted to make that known. There was some belief that, we were getting the payment, and, it's just part of the process. We're doing the work, and we know the town of Jonesboro will compensate us for it based on the agreement. The other work that we're doing too is managing the facility and including the buildings and other things, and that's the county side, and we have not received any payment for that either.
I don't know that we have worked any agreement out on that, have we?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, but you have worked out.
We're continuing to do the work, yes, sir.
But you have an agreement worked out with Jonesboro, or is that?
Both of them are in, both agreements are in draft form. There's been no signatures, no finality, I guess, but in good faith. I mean, we certainly are confident that's all going to end up where it should. But in the meantime, as I said, work had to be done. We got a full slate of tournaments in addition to our school teams playing through November. So the weekends tournaments are more or less scheduled at Boones Creek facility as well as the Ridgeview facility through November.
Okay. All right.
And Grandview as well, but there may be a couple open dates at Grandview during that time.
All right, thank you.
Director Board, did I not see in the minutes where y'all were going to take up that agreement with the county and in the Hugh committee, or did I just?
I did share it
miss
with
that?
you.
Yeah.
Trying to follow the structure of the commission and
Absolutely.
utilize the committee process. I'm still figuring that out and learning, but Hugh committee certainly makes good sense. And county owned property, if I need to go through that committee, I can.
Yeah.
But I always know I can at least start with Hugh.
I'd like to see us get that on this commission floor for these commissioners to consider soon. Commissioner Wheeler?
I think Jonesboro actually passed and signed an agreement way back in February or so.
Okay.
That is sitting, and I've asked about every 2 months
Okay.
with the county attorney and the school board attorney.
Okay.
You may not be aware of that, but if they were ready. So I think
Okay.
we had an agreement worked out, but I think they've got some things between the county and the school system that have to be worked out. So there's no agreement signed by all the parties, but Jonesboro has delivered back what they were asked to do. So we stand ready. If we need to make changes, we'll talk about it.
Yes, sir. I think we're at a point where I believe everyone's good with where it's at. So I'll find out as far as signature wise where that is.
Yes, sir.
So we can get that finished. Yes, sir.
I know October is a lofty goal to get something in here, but I think it would be a reasonable time. So let's shoot for October, and I know I'll save it a spot on the agenda. So for October, Commissioner Malone.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to follow up with Commissioner Tucker's question. Maybe I didn't understand your response. But is it the plan right now for the system to redistrict to kind of balance out student populations in the next school year?
Well, I don't know if that's possible for the 25-26 school year. But it needs to happen, and it may be just some minor adjustments. But the board has to consider its previous practice. If they're going to make a change, they certainly can do what they choose to do. But my advice is they need to rethink the grandfather clause. If we're going to make a decision, we need to give everyone ample of notice, and they need to understand when you make those grandfather clauses, it really effectively does nothing. in controlling the growth. So we have to really have a good discussion, but, you know, I don't think it's realistic to implement it to 25, 26 years. So the 26, 27 with clarity and, you know, a full plan, we need to be ready to execute it in 20, 26, 27.
Ms. Wilkinson, do you want to clarify that?
Thank you.
Our agreement there, just.
I asked the chairman if I could add a little bit and back up for Director Boyd, bringing up that commentary and to address Commissioner Davenport's question and confirm what Commissioner Wheeler has offered. At last month's HEW meeting, indeed, it was discussed with the director's report. And I think that the request was for it to come back to Hugh this month. I've got on my desk an email drafted to send before the deadline. I think it's the 28th that Commissioner Jones has asked for that agenda, so that I expect to be able to send that tomorrow. And the town very kindly included the county on its agreement, recognizing that the work it's performing is on the county's property. And that will make more sense to you. So you might not have to wait until October. That might be something you can look forward to in the September commission, assuming that HEW is able to consider all of that. But that will be circulated tomorrow, in fact, after this meeting tonight. It's already drafted. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilkinson. Is there any questions for Ms. Wilkinson before we move on? Any more questions for Director Boyd? All right. Thank you, Director. We appreciate you being here this evening. Right, our administrative elections, Ms. Jones.
Hello, all. I'm Dana Jones. I'm your Washington County Election Administrator. And before you, I delivered you the second part of this year's elections. This is set up just like the one from March, but we just filled in the August numbers for you. And the last page, since we did have a full party ballot for both parties, we were able to look at it by party. So we did add a page. That page will disappear for November because November is just a general election. Please keep in mind that we are gearing up for the presidential election. We did rent 20 extra voting machines this year, and we have used them at all voting precincts this entire year. But if you are going to vote on election day, please expect a 1-hour wait. So we are encouraging everybody to vote early, starting on October 16th, and that closes on October 31st. Since the 31st is Halloween, we are closing at 5. We made the decision not to keep it open late on the last day since it's Halloween, but we are open late on Tuesday the 29th until 7 p.m. So if you have people that work and they say they can't get there, we're open Saturday 9 to noon and Tuesday night to 7 p.m. And I will tell you, we have been in our new building now for 2 elections, and I cannot tell you how nice it is to have everything on one floor together, everything's secure. We're working out the kinks. It went much smoother in August with drop-off and delivery than it did in March. So we just want to say thank you for giving us the space that we need to do our jobs. We're greatly, very much appreciative. And I'll entertain any questions if you have for me, or I'll go back to my seat. Yes, sir.
All right. The thing that strikes me is, I don't know what page you did. You do a great job with your data, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I'm a numbers girl. I'm a nerd.
I mean, it tells a story, and you provide us with so much of it. I don't think, like, we can understand.
Cool.
Sometimes people don't give us enough, and it's hard to understand. It can be misleading, but yours is not. Okay, so where you have our August election cost per vote,
Yes, sir.
it is $8.
Yes, sir.
I think that's pretty amazing that we're having to pay like $8 to get people to come vote. Do you have anything for us to compare that to?
Well, whenever I took this office, it was more like $30 a vote.
Wow.
So we've gotten it way down. And if you must realize, for this past election, we had 88,392 voters. I've gone by 90,000, by the way, this week. But I have to have a spot for all 88,000 people to vote. if 88,000 people would show up and vote, that cost per vote would be way, way, way down there. But I do it by people who show up at the precinct because I think that's true math. I think if I do it the other way, it's kind of a little bit of tomfoolery. So I try to give you what actual cost of the voters who come out. And I also try to talk to the public about that. You know, we have to have a spot for you to vote. If you have a voter registration card, I have to have a place for you to vote. You're wasting your own taxpayers if you don't, or your own tax dollars if you don't come out and vote. So please utilize that vote. You're welcome, sweetie. Any more? Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you. Right, our next report is our county trustee, his annual report. Rick Story. Rick, thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, let's just go to page 32 on my report. And I'll just get through this pretty quick because I know you have a lot on the menu this evening. You'll see the collections there that we've had for the last several years, but I will call your attention to 23. At the end of the year, we were at about 97.6%. I would tell you today that we're over 98%, pushing toward 99. So that's always a number we try to hit. So the next page is nothing but your tax levy that's included in our report. So you're very familiar with that report. The following page, page 34, is the delinquent property taxes as of the end of the fiscal year. And you can see what real property was 1.6 million, personal was 322,000, public utilities 5,900. Down below that, the 22 personal property taxes, that's what was turned over to the clerk and master. The real property was 661 parcels, $416,000. And the 203,000 on the 22 personal property taxes, that goes to American Financial that does our third-party collecting if the state allows it. And I would call your attention that, but we so far, through the end of June, we've collected through American Financial, we've collected a little over $205,000 of taxes that in the past we wouldn't have collected. Personal property taxes didn't get a lot of attention. So that's where we are on those parcels. On page 35 is the additions and corrections that we get through the assessor's office, where a property goes. If a church buys a property, it takes it off. It goes to the non-taxable property. If you split up property, everything like that. But you can see the bottom line is a summary between additions and deletions that was added to the tax roll during this last year. We had a net positive of a little over $19,000. So, I think last year we may have had a loss in that. The tax relief program that you all have sponsored for years, and we match the state jurisdiction on what the state gives there. We had about 2,400 vouchers qualify for the program. We picked up 284 new ones, and we had about 294 voids during the year, and that people may move out, they may not put it back in, they may pass away, so that's what makes that up. But you'll see the bottom line is what you see the state of Tennessee gave 619,000. And the county's portion was little over 489,000 at Washington County. That was our match, that we matched the state jurisdiction. The next page is 37 is I think Commissioner Malone asked me a couple of years ago on the tax. The top portion on the left side, you'll see Johnson City Schools, and you'll see the figure below there is $12.9 million. That's what the city of Johnson City received out of your tax levy. The 74 cents in this year or last year, 03, that was their portion out of that. On the opposite side, on the right side of the page, at the bottom is 13.9 million, which the Washington County schools received. That was what was paid and collected as of that period of time, June 30. Below there, you see the sales tax distribution for Johnson City, Town of Jonesboro, and City of Watauga. So it's you can see where the sales tax goes. The next page is just a total of what fees, $2.6 million that we've collected through that period of time and turned back over to the state. Page 39, those pages there, that is a court order from taxes that were past due over 10 years. This is 2005 through 2012. We had some of them out there, personal property that they tried to collect and they've just disappeared. But anyway, the chancellor, through our tax attorney, submitted this. The chancellor has approved that, and we have taken those off the roll. But that was on page 43. Shows you the same information that you got in the last month's packet, but it didn't break it down. But I just wanted to give you that to show that we did have the official information and the documentation, the chancellor to do what the statute says, that after 10 years we write those taxes off. So that's kind of down and dirty, I guess, on what I had to report on this report. Is there any questions on this or questions in general about where we are and what we're doing? Mr.
Rick,
Chairman,
is there anything that we need to put in the minutes from this report?
Sure. I was going to ask that if I could just approve this report. And the other thing I was going to ask, not that it needs to be approved, is just on page, the investment committee. Rather than me coming back up here again, I didn't know if, the investment committee is on page, the report, if I can find it here right quick.
Is there a resolution for that?
I don't think that there is.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Oh, there is.
Yeah,
There's a
we
resolution.
probably have
Okay.
to move that.
84, that's correct. That's where it is. I didn't know if you want me to go over that. I don't have a copy in front of me. I just saw it was on there and I didn't print me a copy. So, but I know, I think the thing that we need to probably, we adjusted the bylaws and,
The investment policy.
yeah, the policy, thank you. But, we did that, there wasn't a clear understanding of who was on there. It didn't have the trustee on there. So we've taken about a year. I think Commissioner Lone sits on that committee as well, and Commissioner Tomita, but we've taken about a year to really take a look at this thing with guidance from our county attorney to make sure, we have, like the people that serve on the committee, it's the rotation of the court rather than just put you on there and you come off. So there's there was some kind of organized approach to this. And, that's what, makes the change. The other things that we covered in there were just, what our investments are doing and everything like that. But, the resolution is there, and I think it was attached to Exhibit A in your packet there as well.
All right. Oh, do I have, Commissioner England?
Back up to the collection from the American Finance.
Okay.
What percentage do they get?
They charge 25%, but I mean, we get our 100% of our money. We get our interest and taxes, and then they get theirs above that. Yes.
Couldn't remember how that was.
Right. Now, we get 100% of our money, so.
Mr. Chairman, if it's agreeable, I'll make a motion that we acknowledge receipt of the trustees' annual report. Let me do that one first, look into the policy.
Yes, that'll be good. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Jones. That is accepting the report of the trustee. Any further questions for the trustee? Seeing none, all in favor of that motion, signify by saying aye. All opposed, like so. Right, and Rick, we appreciate you and we appreciate your report this evening. All right, we will move on down to the Health, Education, and Welfare Committee. Commissioner Jones?
Thank you, Chairman. Is my microphone working?
I don't feel like
It is.
It is now, okay. Chairman, with your permission, would it be okay for me to jump in with my county-owned property letter that I alluded to earlier?
Yes.
As you know, last meeting, we went in circles and discussed for a bit about how to handle a few resolutions around the county farm. And I think if you look at the votes and the decisions made that night, we're fairly split on how to go forward with that project. Of course, the Unity Housing folks were in the audience participating and listening to that discussion, and I received this letter today. Washington County Commissioners, Unity Housing was founded on the principle of using research-based interventions to meet the needs of our community. During the RFP process for the farm, it has become clear that the neighbors have organized and articulated a vision for the property, and they deserve the opportunity to voice their needs and desires. While Unity Housing respects the process and is grateful for the opportunities to advance the medical respite project, we respectfully request that the Commission pause decisions on the building. This will allow the Commission to hear the neighbors' perspectives and make an informed decision that will benefit the county for years to come. With a rapidly growing population in Washington County, we are already experiencing a shortage of green space as development encroaches upon existing natural reserves. Unity Housing believes that exploring the use of part of the county farm as green space is a worthy endeavor. We urge you to Consider this pause as a powerful opportunity to embody the spirit of democratic governance, listening to your constituents, understanding their concerns, and incorporating their vision into decision-making processes is not only a fundamental principle of democracy, but also a powerful tool for serving your community in a truly unique way. In today's world where public service can sometimes feel distant from the needs of everyday citizens, taking the time to hear directly from those who will be most impacted by a decision can build trust, foster community ownership, and ultimately lead to solutions that are more effective and sustainable. We believe that by taking this step, the Commission can set a precedent for a more engaged and responsive approach to public service. It is a chance to demonstrate that the voices of the community matter and their concerns will be taken seriously in the decision-making process. Unity Housing will respect any decision the County Commission makes. However, we urge you to consider supporting and listening to the desires of your constituents and embrace this opportunity to serve your community in a way that truly resonates with their needs. Best regards, Opal Fry Clark, Unity Housing. I felt like it was important to provide that update since I know their role in all of this has played a bit of a role in how we've all thought about it to this point, and I think that may change the conversation to some extent. Onward, health, education, and welfare.
Onward.
Is that okay?
Yes, onward, yes.
Okay. You'll see our minutes from the August 1st meeting on page 45. And first, I'd like you to consider resolution number 240804, a resolution approving and authorizing certain education capital project fund expenditures up to $600,000 for fiscal year 24-25 for the purchase of 6 school buses. That's on page 48. It comes with a recommendation from the committee, and I bring it to you in the form of a motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Jones, seconded by Commissioner Wexler. Question or discussion? Mr. Tucker?
Couple phone calls earlier today. So how many buses are sitting there? I know they reroute some buses. So how many buses is actually not in use at this time? Someone answer that or?
I don't know if Director Boyd's still here or not.
Specific question, I can tell you some of these programs.
Yes, ma'am. The request is 3 propane and 3 smaller buses. To answer your question, there's some on the lot that have been retired. They just have not been destroyed yet. Based on some of the grants we've received to eliminate diesel and replace with propane, the condition is the buses have to be destroyed, the engines have to be destroyed, and the buses, they can't be resold for surplus. There are some buses on the lot too that don't have to be destroyed, but they have not yet been sold for surplus. And then we also have reserve buses, and probably approximately 6 that are not assigned to the road, but they meet the mileage and the year limit to be operational, and they're evaluated each year and meet the requirements for safety. So we have some reserve buses, and we also have buses that can be used for activities after school. While we have buses on their routes, we have available buses with possibly, for example, if a coach has their license and they need to take a large group to an event, then the bus is available for them while our regular route buses are on the road.
So the buses are set, are they recorded with the state or?
Yes, we have to have the annual inspection. They have to pass those. There's an inventory kept, and there's also a time limit by which they can be used. There's a number of years of service or miles, 17 years or 200,000 miles.
Thank you.
Yes.
Commissioner England?
Quick question. I know this is purchase school buses. Are these full-size school buses?
Yes, sir. The standard 3 of them, the ones that are identified, the 3 propane are full size, or what we use as full size. They're 66 passenger bus. That's our standard for full size bus. The smaller buses are we have a lot of routes that go long distance. They also serve different populations of students. They're the smaller buses, and that's the other 3 that we're asking to purchase.
Okay, I was just wondering, with so many parents that take their children to and from school anymore, but capacity wise, some of the buses.
Well, you get ridiculed for buses that appear to be overcrowded, and you get ridiculed for buses that appear to only have a few kids on them. With the restructuring of routes this year, the transportation department has indicated we have a better utilization of the buses we have on the road. We did reduce the number of routes needed, mainly because we also had a deficit of bus drivers that we could maintain. But we're to the point where we serve all of our routes with fewer buses, and we also are using the buses with more capacity. I mean, we have greater capacity on the bus. So 66 passengers, most of our buses are running, many of them are running in the 40 passenger range instead of the 10 or the 5 passenger range that we did have examples of that in the past.
Commissioner Wexler?
What's the maintenance and fuel cost difference between a propane bus and a?
Well, our transporters, our mechanics and the bus supervisor has shared the cost is minimal. I can get those exact numbers to you, and that's something I can include in next month's update. It's very specific. I don't want to tell you something and be too far off. I can get the exact data for you. But in those discussions, especially when the board's deliberating about propane buses or diesel buses, there are some preferences there by board members. But, we have shown that consistently the propane buses require less maintenance. Diesel buses have additional things that you must do regularly and does increase the cost. Diesel buses are good buses, but they do have a higher cost of ownership than the propane buses.
Commissioner Malone?
Thank you for the added information. Just one point you might want to research. I had a client in the past that went around some Sullivan County. So historically, in the past, a whole lot of school buses.
Sure.
They're not in client any longer, but I know in the state of Tennessee, if a school bus begins its life, and that's a key component, but if it begins its life in the state of Tennessee, you're right about 17 years or 200,000 miles, but I think if you have its maintenance records and all that you can get an extension on that up to either 20 or even 22 years without mileage. So I always did, it was interesting to me that clearly Sullivan County students were occasionally riding to school on a bus that maybe had a few more years on it or a few more miles than maybe Washington County. So that's something the system might just look at in terms of, I don't think the 17 years, 200,000 miles is a hard and fast rule. I think if it began its life in Tennessee, it can be.
Well, if you talk to the state safety director, he probably would disagree with you. There is an opportunity to extend, but then it's risk management. I mean, by extending it may be allowed, but you also are putting people at risk. And you may be able to defend it by saying, we did X, Y, and Z, but good practice is to follow what's in the code.
Or it may come at an increased maintenance cost.
There is increased maintenance, and there also, when you do get an exception to extend, there's an additional annual inspection fee.
All right. Any other questions for Director Boyd while we have him back? Seeing none. Any further questions about or discussion about the resolution? Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. It's Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote. 14 yes, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Jones?
And I just have one other resolution for you. That's number 240805, resolution authorizing the technical execution of the library. The Tennessee State Library and Archives COP grant and amendments. Page 50, company recommendation.
Motion made by Commissioner Jones, seconded by Commissioner Wexler to approve the resolution. Question or discussion? Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, Go ahead and cast your vote, lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you announce the vote, 14 yes, and the resolution passes. Anything else, Commissioner Jones? All right, thank you. Investment Committee, Commissioner Malone, will you guide us through this, or is Commissioner, or is Rick still here, or? I don't,
Trustee may still be here, but,
I can't keep up with the, leadership on that committee.
I do serve as a member as this committee is made up of. As the trustee referenced earlier, we do have a resolution for 0806. And it does annually, I think we approve the investment committee policy each year, but, this year it's some of the changes primarily as the trustee referenced, just a little more meat on the bones or instruction about how individuals become members of the finance committee. And of course, certain members are appointed by this body, but it does come to you from the committee with the motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Malone, second by Commissioner Tamita. Question or discussion?
All the question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 14 yes, and the resolution passes. Anything else, Commissioner Malone? All right, thank you. We are starting to take on another page here. Do we want to take a quick recess while Tiffany hands out these selection forms and we get them turned back into her? Let's take about a 10-minute recess. I know y'all are ready to get started back. Anybody have any more forms to turn in? Ms. Wilkinson? All right. Commissioner Wheeler, if you want, we will go ahead and start off our Public Safety Committee report with you.
Yes, sir. You'll find our minutes on page 92 of the packet. And then we have 16 resolutions. Commissioner Carter has agreed to second each one. And we have a commissioner who I think has agreed to call the question fairly quickly. To help you all, we do not believe there's any new money in any of these resolutions. There are a lot of these are grants, accepting grants. I do want to say that I've said this before, but this sheriff is doing a wonderful job of bringing some things to us that might not have come to us in the past. And it is extremely helpful from a public safety committee standpoint that and I think commission standpoint, that we know what's going on and we're better informed. So I want to thank him for that. And these are not all his, but a significant number. All right. So our first resolution is Resolution 240807, resolution approving EMS Station 5 project, amending capital projects plan and amending fiscal year budget 2024-2025. This is found on page 97 of your packet. It comes as a recommendation from the committee, and I move for its approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Wheeler, second by Commissioner Carter to approve the resolution. Question or discussion? Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch to the voting screen, go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote. 13 yes, 1 abstain, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Wheeler?
Our next resolution is resolution number 240808, a resolution approving and authorizing certain capital projects fund spending up to $18,000 for fiscal year 24-25 for Sheriff's Office computer replacement. It's found on page 99 of your packet, comes as a recommendation from the committee, and I move for its approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Wheeler, seconded by Commissioner Carter to approve the resolution. Question or discussion? Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch to the voting screen, go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote. Commissioner Tucker, I think, now if you'll announce the vote. 14 yes, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Wheeler?
Our next resolution is resolution number 240809, a resolution approving and authorizing certain capital projects fund spending up to $100,000 for fiscal year 24-25 for Sheriff's Office body camera and radio upgrades. This is found on page 101 of your packet. It comes as a recommendation of the committee, and I move for its approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Wheeler, seconded by Commissioner Carter to approve the resolution. Question or discussion? Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch to the voting screen, go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote. 14 yes, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Wheeler?
Our next resolution is number 240810, resolution approving and authorizing certain capital projects fund spending up to $50,000 for fiscal year 24-25 for Sheriff's Office taser replacement. Found on page 103 of your packet, it comes as a recommendation from the committee, and I move for its approval.
Motion made to approve the resolution by Commissioner Wheeler, seconded by Commissioner Carter. Question or discussion? Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch to the voting screen, go ahead and cast your vote, lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote. 14 yes, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Wheeler?
Our next resolution is resolution number 240811, resolution approving and authorizing certain capital projects fund spending up to $70,000 for fiscal year 24-25 for Sheriff's Office crime scene camera scanner. It's found on page 105 of your packet. Comes as a recommendation from the committee, and I move for its approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Wheeler to approve the resolution, seconded by Commissioner Carter. Question or discussion? Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote. 14 yes, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Wheeler.
Our next resolution is resolution number 240812, a resolution approving and authorizing certain capital projects fund spending up to $250,000 for fiscal year 24-25 for Sheriff's Office Training Center Firing Range, found on page 107 of your packet. It comes as a recommendation from the committee, and I move for its approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Wheeler to approve the resolution, seconded by Commissioner Carter. Question or discussion? Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 14 yes, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Wheeler?
Our next resolution is number 240813, resolution approving and authorizing certain capital projects fund spending up to $15,000 for fiscal year 24-25 for Sheriff's Office waterline upgrades for the detention center. It's found on page 109 of your packet. It comes as a recommendation from the committee, and I move for its approval.
Motion made to approve the resolution by Commissioner Wheeler, seconded by Commissioner Carter. Question or discussion? Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch to the voting screen, go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 14 yes, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Wheeler?
Our next resolution is number 240814, a resolution approving and authorizing the license agreement between Washington County and Johnson City Energy Authority, DBA Bright Ridge. It's found on page 111 of your packet. This comes as a recommendation from the committee, and I move for its approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Wheeler to approve the resolution, seconded by Commissioner Carter. Question or discussion? Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll go ahead and switch us to the voting screen. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 14 yes, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Wheeler?
Next resolution is 240816, a resolution ratifying the acceptance of the School Resource Officer Grant Program between the State of Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security and Washington County Sheriff's Office and amending fiscal year budget 2024-2025. This is found on page 130 of your packet. It comes as a recommendation from the committee, and I move for its approval.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Wheeler, seconded by Commissioner Carter. Question or discussion? Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch to the voting screen, cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 14 yes, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Wheeler?
Our next resolution is resolution number 240817, a resolution approving a property lease between the Washington County Sheriff's Office and Sam Kite for the purpose of the shooting range / training center. This is found on page 143 of your packet. It comes as a recommendation from the committee, and I move for its approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Wheeler to approve the resolution, seconded by Commissioner Carter. Question or discussion?
Call question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 14 yes, the resolution passes. Commissioner Wheeler?
The next resolution is resolution 240818, a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding between Frontier Health and Washington County, Tennessee, and amending fiscal year budget 2024-2025. Found on page 152 of your packet. It comes as a recommendation from the committee, and I move for its approval.
Motion made to approve the resolution by Commissioner Wheeler, seconded by Commissioner Jones. Question or discussion? Question's been called. Go ahead and cast your vote. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 14 yes, the resolution passes. Commissioner Wheeler?
24-08-19, a resolution approving memorandum of understanding between the City of Johnson City, Tennessee, and Washington County, Tennessee, regarding the Johnson City, Washington County Family Justice Center. It's found on page 162 of your packet. It comes as a recommendation from the committee, and I move for its approval.
Motion made to approve the resolution by Commissioner Wheeler, seconded by Commissioner Carter. Question or discussion? Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen. Go ahead and cast your vote. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 14 yes, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Wheeler?
Resolution number 240820, a resolution amending fiscal year budget 2024-2025 regarding the Sheriff's Office purchase of command post. This is found on page 168 of your packet. Comes as a recommendation from the committee, and I move for its approval.
Motion made to approve the resolution by Commissioner Wheeler, seconded by Commissioner Carter. Question or discussion?
Call for the question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, go ahead and cast your vote. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 14 yes, the resolution passes. Commissioner Wheeler?
0821, a resolution ratifying the acceptance and execution of the amended community-based traffic safety enforcement and education grant contract and amending fiscal year budget 2024-2025. It's found on page 170 of your packet. It comes as a recommendation from the committee, and I move for its approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Wheeler to approve, seconded by Commissioner Carter. Question or discussion?
Call the question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 14 yes, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Wheeler?
Our next resolution is resolution number 240822, a resolution ratifying the acceptance and execution of the amended State of Tennessee Training and Professional Development Grant between the State of Tennessee Department of Commerce and Insurance and Washington County Government. It's found on page 180 of your packet. It comes as a recommendation from the committee, and I move for its approval.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Wheeler, seconded by Commissioner Carter. Question or discussion?
Call for the question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 14 yes, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Wheeler?
240823, resolution ratifying the acceptance and execution of the amended Tennessee Law Enforcement Hiring, Training, and Recruitment Grant and amending fiscal year budget 2024-2025. Found on page 185 of your packet. It comes as a recommendation from the committee, and I move for its approval.
Motion made to approve the resolution by Commissioner Wheeler, seconded by Commissioner Carter. Question or discussion? Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen and go ahead and announce the vote. 14 yes, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Wheeler? Right. Thank you. Next report is the Public Works Committee. Commissioner Davenport.
Yes, you'll find our minutes of our August 1st meeting on page 189. We have two resolutions for you tonight, both of those coming in the form of recommendation. Resolution number 240824 is resolutions setting speed limit on Earl Light Circle and Sabrina Drive, Skipper Ridge Road, and Dana Bacon Road.
All right. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Tucker. Question or discussion? Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch to the voting screen, go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 14 yes, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Davenport?
Our second resolution is resolution number 240825, resolution accepting the Washington County Highway Department annual inventory list.
Motion made by Commissioner Davenport, seconded by Commissioner Wexler to approve the resolution. Question or discussion? Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, go ahead and cast your vote. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 14 yes, and the resolution passes. Anything else, Commissioner Davenport?
No, sir.
All right. Next item is the Rules Committee report. Commissioner Malone.
Yes, our minutes are on page 232, and glad to answer any questions. And I apologize up front that we have only one resolution for the ninth. It is resolution number 240826. It's a resolution adopting the revised rule 4A of the rules of procedure for the Board of County Commissioners. This has been approved and recommended by the Rules Committee, and I'll make a motion for this.
Motion to approve the resolution by Commissioner Malone, seconded by Commissioner Jones. Question or discussion, Commissioner Jones?
I just wanted to, thank the rules committee for their work on this. And, indicate that I plan to support this change. My two committees, Q and County and Property, have had huge numbers of people in their desire for, community insight. Great deal for the last year or so. And I've experienced firsthand the challenge of, you only have an hour of meeting to have 20, 25, 30 minutes for comment. You can sign up. And what you do, because you want to do the business of the county, but you want to hear the people too. And I would just say, this is a great, sort of a fallback option for committee members to, restrict their time or, make it so meeting can still occur. But my experience was just that letting everyone get hold to and asking folks to make their comments so that the commission can do its business was really effective. I got a lot of really positive feedback from the community on running meetings that allow everyone to say what they want to say. So just keep that in mind and
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 14 yes, and the resolution passes.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, that's all I had tonight. Of course, one clarification, I had referenced that the minutes for the rules committee were on page 232. Actually, somehow it was a little mixed up and it was a prior month's minutes that were in the packet. And so our county attorney necessarily will make sure that a copy of the minutes for the August meeting were at your place tonight. Just that one clarification.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And Mr. Chairman, we'll make sure that those are to the clerk for her file copy.
All right, thank you. All right, our next item is a Budget Committee report. Commissioner England.
Chairman, you'll find the minutes for our August 6th meeting on page 239 in your packet. We have 3 resolutions for your consideration tonight. First resolution is resolution number 240827. It's a resolution amending fiscal year budget 24-25 in reference to assessor's office insurance recovery and related vehicle repairs. Find that on page 242 in your packet. Comes to you in the form of a motion from the Budget Committee, and I move for its approval.
Motion made to approve the resolution by Commissioner England, second by Commissioner Tucker. Question or discussion? Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 14 yes, and the resolution passes. Commissioner England?
Next resolution is resolution number 240828. Find that on page 244 in your packet. The resolution approving and authorizing up to $115,000 in expenditures in reference to the courtroom security at the George James Justice Center, panic buttons and additional parking lot fence, and amending fiscal year budget 24-25. This also comes to you in the form of a motion from the Budget Committee, and I would move for its approval.
Motion made by Commissioner England to approve the resolution, second by Commissioner Huffine. Commissioner, question or discussion? Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Wexler. You was ahead of me.
Did this go through the committee?
What?
I mean, did it go through the private, safety?
Went through the Court Security Committee, but I don't know if that's a standing committee. Mayor, would you like to comment on that?
Chairman, I was going to say there is a committee that deals with court security that's made up of judges and clerks and sheriff department. And so they meet and they generally make a recommendation. They have a fund that is supported by 4 documents. The fund currently has around $125,000 in it, and is to be used specifically for court security issues. We recently, by the way, received from the state a grant that was about $69,000 and accomplished a number of things, including putting ballistic panels in the courtroom where the clerks sit, panic buttons, other various security upgrades that were recommended by this security committee. I sit on it, so I get to listen to what they say.
I just didn't see there.
Right, so that's a committee that generates it. It went from there, I think, to budget, where the recommendation comes from.
All questions. All right, question has been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch to the voting screen, go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you announce the vote, 14 yes, and the resolution passes. Commissioner England?
Final resolution is resolution number 240829. It's a resolution amending fiscal year budget 2024-2025 in reference to the library part-time pay rate increase. You'll find that on page 246 in your packet. It comes to you from the Budget Committee in the form of a motion, and I move for its approval.
Motion made by Commissioner England to approve the resolution. We have a second. Second by Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Tomita?
Yes, quick question. Is that new spending or just reallocating the budget that we approved previously?
Mayor, why don't you come up and answer that? I heard what you said. Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what the play was, but they, like other departments that had part-time people who rearranged their budget, the library did some, but they don't really have a lot of excess. So I want to say there's about $30,000 that's coming from the general fund for this.
I'm just curious, so short, I just sometimes wonder why we do a budget, because we seem to amend it a lot. Was that?
Every month.
Yeah, was that not a request with their initial budget?
It was not.
Commissioner Davenport?
Yes, I guess when I was looking at the way we increased wages throughout the county, I thought the $2 was a way to consistently put money in each department. And it was not to say, because we can't do that. We can't, it was in the paper and reported really well, that we can't tell each department head, this is how much money you have to give each person. That's done by the department head. So we funded at a very high level of taxpayers' money for raises. I feel very comfortable in that. I don't feel comfortable in coming back afterwards because it's not like someone had to give $2 to each one. If someone didn't get a raise or something like that, that's up to the officials. That's their discretion, and they can move that money any way they want to. And like I said, that's what I thought we funded 2 months ago in a very, very difficult funding year. And therefore, I'm a little cautious, a little apprehensive in changing that salary rolls at this point. Thank you.
Any further questions? Commissioner Edens?
I'll ask a very simple question first. This is tagged as library. So for any other department that may or may not have somebody working part-time, this doesn't apply to them. This just applies to library part-time employees. Am I correct in assuming that?
All other part-time got the raise.
All of the part-time got the raise, except for library.
I don't know.
So the answer to that is, hey, other departments that have part-time people were able to move money within their department. So it was those changes to be approved by the budget and didn't full revenue. Library did not have sufficient funds in other departments. number of part-time people that have with this fairground. So that is why they were able to just pass for one.
Richard, would you like the opportunity to speak since we are getting in depth on this pay situation here just a little bit?
Currently, I have 14 part-time employees. It'd be very difficult to run the library now without them. Last year, or budgeting cycle this year, my understanding was the pay increase was for full-time only. When we originally submitted our budget, it was our understanding to not submit any pay increases in that budget, that would be looked at later on in the budgeting cycle. So therefore, in our initial budget, we did not submit any pay increases. We did stress that when we met with commissioners to go over our budget, we did specifically mention that we had a fair number of part-time employees and that we also needed pay increases to keep our staff. Many of our staff could go to other libraries. We do train a fair number of people and they go to other libraries because we rank in the bottom level of most surrounding library pay rates. They can go to other places and get benefits such as McDonald's, Hardee's, and considerably sometimes the work is less stressful. So I ask that you do consider this tonight. It would make a major difference to my part-time employees and to the library in general. Thank you. Sir. Yes, sir.
Who told you not to include pay raises?
That was on top of the budgeting form.
Do you have that?
It's the standard form that's been passed out to each department head to fill in their budget. It says do not include pay raises. Or I guess, Mitch, you can have these. How was it said?
That's right. Yeah. Being for style and higher. The department.
Mitch, would you come up here to the podium too, please? That way everybody can hear what you're saying.
Sorry for yelling from the back of the room. Yeah, as the budget committee met and started their budget process, the request of the departments and officials was to present a flat budget in terms of salary and pay rate increases. That would be determined as the budget committee proceeded through the budget deliberations. Some committees, some departments did submit an initial budget that had pay increases in them. Some did not. The committee worked through that process, and you, as a commission, determined to do an amount equal to $2 for full-time employees across the board. The request by the various departments and officials for increased pay for their employees was shared with the budget committee. So, that's information that has flown through here, and it's not, the fact that Richard had added some additional people last year, which increased its cost and increased the dollar amount that's needed due to inflationary pressures, of course, required the commission to fund those salary levels.
It's true. Richard's department probably has more, for the size department, there are more part-time employees. The most departments have one or two.
Yes.
And the other departments that have more part-time employees are large departments like the highway department.
Great. That's correct. Yeah,
So
Richard.
the impact is a little greater on him with these part-time.
Specifically, how many, you've got 14 part-time, how many full-time? So you spread that $2, the $2 increase amongst the 9 full-time.
Yeah, each full-time employee received a $2 increase.
That could have been spread amongst the 23 employees at the discretion.
Yes. That was my understanding, because there was nothing in the commission language that said,
It's not the commission that decides
right.
that.
That's the whole thing that we're.
It's the lump sum that's given to the department for distribution as they see fit.
We
can't direct. I'm just harkening back, and of course, I can't remember what I had for breakfast today, but I do remember that other department heads requested parents. That was,
As a budget committee, when we sat in this room with the whole commission, we talked about that, how we make sure the county employees got that $2 raise. And we talked about, if somebody doesn't give the $2 raise, then, we can consider that next year when we consider funding. So we sent a pretty strong signal as a commission. And I'm not sure you read that meeting, but we sent a pretty strong message that we expected the employees to get $2 raise. So that's where, they came up the night of the final budget approval and said, or it's maybe before that even, and said, we don't have a way to do this $2 raise. So the budget committee knew we were gonna have to come back and address this if we wanted those employees to have a $2 raise. We've looked at that before. The library employees are usually some of the lowest paid employees in the county. And they are right now. I mean, this is to get people up toward 15. We won't even get everybody to 15. But we did, I just want to be fair, because I think we did as a commission send a pretty strong signal. We can't tell them, we know that, but we can look at that when we look at the budget next year.
Mr. Edens?
Just out of curiosity, to do that $2 raise for those part-time employees, what would be ballpark for the budget here? Like, what would the budget absorb by adding that?
I've got that number, Commissioner, but I don't have it here. The budget committee authorized $30,000 additional funds.
Commissioner Davenport?
Yeah, so just to clarify, as far as that was not my intent for $2 an hour across the board. That was not in a resolution, because it couldn't be in a resolution. I'm not for holding anything over any department head's head of what they should do, or they will be recourse next year. I don't ever want to send a message like that myself. And so in the budget items for everyone, we didn't put I'm assuming each one of our employees has a number or something that we identify them by with, and a pay rate. We didn't go in there and pencil in $2 an hour for every one of those people. All we did was fund the salary line by an increase of $2 per hour for full-time employees. And then it was divvied out throughout the department, how the department head seemed fit. Is that correct? Is that the process?
The department had to submit their pay rate increases. We don't make those changes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Mr. Tucker?
So being on part of this budget through this process, I think where it happened is he was told not to ask for any pay increases. And it's our intention as a budget, and we approved a $2 raise across the board. Like you said, we can't tell what department to do what. So the other departments that had part-time employees, from my understanding, their part-time employees got the $2. Richard come back, and this was after the budget was approved, he come back and asked what he could do for his part-time employees. we asked him to go back and look at his budget numbers to see if he had any money that he could pull out of his department to get these increases to his part-time employees. So he went back and looked at that, from my understanding, and come back and said there wasn't nothing there he could pull, that his budget was pretty well flat where it's at. So as a budget member and the committee, we felt like that we shouldn't leave these few employees out when everybody else in the county was supposedly got a $2. So I'm like you, I don't like to come back and spend money that we didn't really budget to begin with, but our hands was kind of tied, and I felt like that these employees deserved it. He was told not to ask for it, and we made it clear to Richard and the other departments next year, if I'm on the budget committee or not, that when they have part-time employees, they need to bring that up during the budget process, not to wait after. But this happened after the budget was set, because Richard was told not to ask for increases for employees. So we felt like, as a budget, on the budget committee, we felt like we need to go back and fix this. But looking forward, we told Richard and a bunch of other departments, make sure if you have part-time employees in the future, that we need to be aware of this. From my understanding, his part-time employees didn't get a raise at all last year. So from my understanding, this will be the second year. If we turn this down, this will be the second year his part-time employees will not have a raise because he didn't ask for it.
Commissioner Davenport?
So I'm not disagreeing with any of that, but to act like that this commission body didn't fund raises for everyone's not true. It's, you know, you've got every employee in every department has a different record, and the only person that knows that's that department head, and to divvy up that money. And they should do, and they do it as they see fit. Okay? And these raises have been funded every year by this body. And again, after we've come through what we just come through, I have a lot of concern in doing that. All right.
All right.
Call for the question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote. 12 yes, 2 no, and the resolution passes. Commissioner England, anything else? All right. All right, moving right on to old business. Our first resolution to consider this evening is Resolution 240407A. It's a resolution to levy a county hotel motel tax and to levy a short-term rental tax. One of the reasons that this comes before you this evening for your consideration is, I think Mr. Hurley done a great job bringing you the details tonight during public comment. That's exactly the same question that I had. So one of the things that we got into is, when did the tax take effect? There was a letter sent out that stated at the time that the tax took effect in August. Some other people said that the tax took effect upon passage of the resolution. Some people don't want the tax to take effect in December. And we clearly didn't set a date for the tax to take effect. So the effective date, Mayor, is what? We had discussed.
Resolution that was passed in April, Mr. Hurley noted that the hotels, motels were advised in April, and it hit a committee on April 4th. And the resolution was passed, I think, on that commission meeting in April. That resolution gave the effective date of July the 1st. I believe the statute required a 60-day notification so that everybody had, time to sort of get set up. As the clerk, Cheryl Story, and I discussed this just after the first of this fiscal year, we felt like that another period of time, making it 90 days from the time everybody was notified until the time it was implemented, made more sense, and that's why we sent the letter out in August. Really, the resolution that's in front of you tonight is trying to bring in sync what we sent out to all the hotel motelers in July as the August 1st starting date with the resolution that adopted this. Because the resolution said July, and we felt like another 30 days was appropriate to get everyone, so that we could send out a notice to everybody, be sure everybody had it in hand, and get it implemented. Most of the hotels have not had an issue with it. We'll note that the only hotel that came to the committee meetings as part of this discussion as we deliberating it were folks from the Carnegie. So they were really involved from the very beginning. That's
All right. Commissioner Wexler?
Any tax been elected?
yes, it has. People have been sent. Correct.
I guess there's a few people that haven't collected that.
Well, we don't know. We're new in this process, so we really haven't been able to quite get that together. We're just not quite 1 month into it.
So when did they start?
In August. Yes, sir.
Commissioner Malone?
Well, again, I just wanted to make sure I understand, but it sounds like your recommendations that rather than the July 1st start date, as imagined by this resolution, I guess back in April, that we would instead have an August 1st start date.
Yep. Yes, sir.
I'm just curious, we just had a significant conversation about $30,000. That 1 month differential, I'm just curious what we budgeted for the month of July in terms of the hotel rooms.
So there's no budget because we don't have a spend line for it either.
So starting August 1st, or even potentially starting later than that, would not have an impact on the budget as we approve it in June.
It won't, because none of that money goes to operations. It all has to be spent back into tourism marketing.
Thank you.
Commissioner Wheeler?
Heard the speaker tonight mention the request delay, but we also, I think someone got an email today on the Express indicating that they were set. So, the delay we called them has to get back with all their third party providers. So, you got any other feedback?
We've gotten, I've actually had communication from a number of hotels that said, we've got this under control and we're ready to go. So you're exactly right. If they have to unwind it, and frankly, we have already received some revenue, so it would be virtually impossible for them to return it, I would think.
Oh, we don't have a motion yet.
Right, and the resolution before you has a blank for the date, so whatever you decide to do, if you're gonna act on it, that needs to be filled in.
Yeah, whatever date you would like to put back in there. I would be amiss if I didn't ask us, if we would hear from the county attorney before we close this issue out. Commissioner Huffine?
I'm moving, we make August 1st the effective date.
All right. Motion to make August 1st the effective date. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Johnson. Any further discussion or questions? Question's been called. Madam Clerk switches to the voting screen. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote. 14 yes, and the resolution passes. All right, the next item is Resolution 240605 is a resolution confirming the county mayor's recommendation for appointment to the board of the Johnson City Development Authority. Mr. Jones?
Okay, I just have a comment about this resolution. As you all know, the mayor recommended me and Commissioner Malone to the ZBA in June, and has since recommended the trustee to my. I wanted to let you all know that I'm disappointed in that change. I realize that I've been on the board for a good while, but most or almost all of the work that's happening on this board has been on the John Spear project. The John Spear Center, the building, is 10 blocks from my house, and I consider the residents there to be my neighbors. The John Spear project is a massive undertaking. It's a really complex project. It's been going on for 5 years. And from the beginning, I was eager to take on and be a part of that because of my desire to see the quality of life improve for my neighbors in that building. I'm active and engaged with this project on many fronts, including being a point of contact for business community that is looking at the relocation of those residents, many others, including my neighbors in the streets and downtown, who are very concerned about the well-being of the residents of the John Spear as they are relocated to their new homes. The project is about 15 months to completion, and that time, those residents in, I think, one of the best things ever in the city will be transferred to their new home. But I do feel like it's a critical time on that board for representation by a board member who has a voice for the people and who has had a long time working on this project. Other than Commissioner Malone and I, Commissioner Malone has put in an insane amount of hours on the financial side and budgets for the JCBA. Other than two of us, there really are very few people on the board at this point who have the institutional memory that we do at a time when money is one final step. I would also point out that I'm the only board member currently, I think, that lives in the proximity of downtown Johnson City right now and represents for that place. It's my understanding that we've asked for a legal opinion from the JCBA on how these appointments get made. There's some question about whether our resolution is stated this way, that we make a recommendation and then the city, the JCBA and the city itself makes the appointments, but that's never something we've really looked into before. And I just wondered if we might defer this decision until we have that legal opinion from the JCBA on what our goal in the appointments are. And maybe at that time, we consider having there be kind of filled in choices versus something that the commission debates and nominates in the future. So I make a motion that we defer until we have that opinion and we can think about how we're going to move forward on this appointment.
We have a second. Commissioner Wheeler. Second to defer. All right. All of in favor of deferring,
Question.
I don't think it's debatable. Deferring is not debatable. Is it?
Didn't hear the question.
Is it debatable on defer?
I have to double check that. That's a good question.
Still look and see. I don't think it's debatable.
He had a question.
Oh, she thinks I had a question before I had the second. So go ahead, Commissioner Tucker.
Well, I remember seeing an email here a few weeks ago from that board requesting that we need to make that nomination and get it to them. They listed 3 people on it and said we need to get down to 2. Was that correct? They was wanting it. I mean, we deferred this for 2 months now. So, but I remember seeing an email from that committee wanting this to make a decision. Am I correct?
I remember an email, but I don't.
They sent an email and they talked about all 3 I mentioned all three and what good each one could bring to the table and said, from my understanding, that decision, they was needing that decision quickly. Is that correct, Mayor?
There was a letter sent to all commissioners and myself from Jack Simpson, the chair of that board. Carbon copy, Bob Cooper, vice chair, Freddie Malone, Trish Oldham, executive director, saying basically, the three people that have appeared as recommendations are all quality folks, different varying experiences. And each of them would be valuable to the committee in their own way. And that we respectfully, I quote, we respectfully request that you appoint two of these three individuals as soon as possible to ensure the seamless continuation of our work together.
What was
Is that
the
what
date,
you're
what
talking
was the
about?
date on that letter?
July the 26th.
Thank you. I would vote that.
All right, we do. It's only debatable is the length of time. We just don't have a main motion yet. I think our attorney could shed some light on this as well. Ms. Wilkinson, if you would
Happy to.
help us here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With respect to Commissioner Tucker's recollection, there was a letter from Johnson City, from the city of Johnson City. And I know that we have the JCDA here at some level, the executive director, so I will look to her to confirm. I'm not part of the legal opinion that was requested by the Johnson City Development Authority. Obviously, that's its own board and its own entity. I think that the letter from the city predates the request for the legal opinion. The letter was written in conjunction with the fact that it is the county's opinion that the city of Johnson City makes the appointment to the JCDA, that it is not a Washington County appointment. That said, it has been the custom and practice that the commission does make an appointment. It makes total sense that the JCDA, in making its recommendation to the city of Johnson City, would want to know what the county thinks. But the city of Johnson City, in sending that letter, did not take the position that it would make the appointment that is required of it under the bylaws. So the Johnson City Development Authority is awaiting a legal opinion of the how the terms and the appointments are made under its bylaws. So this commission's appointment would not be binding. It would have to go through the city of Johnson City after this is made. This would be, of course, a recommendation, but just for the benefit of all of you so that you all have the same facts. That's my understanding of the timeline and the basis for the letter from the city.
So we would just be recommending two or three or four. Would you be limited in number?
There are two positions, I believe, that it says, my recollection is that it says it is the intention of the JCDA that two of the members will be Washington County appointments. But it does not state how the appointment is made. Most bylaws state who makes the appointment. In this one, it says expressly that the city of Johnson City makes the appointment. And I just want to be sure that you as commissioners know that it is the city's appointment. Now that the issue has been raised, there's a request for a legal opinion, but it is not our request. I hope that makes sense.
Did the JCDA make the request? Did you say?
That is my understanding from the JCDA board, that they have made a request. It has come up in the past where I've asked for some guidance, because I think most recently with the TIP advisory board, there was no guidance, no express language in the bylaws for the appointment. And I conferred with them, before this commission appointed Commissioner Tamita to the TIF Advisory Board. And we used the expiration of Commissioner Tamita's term as a commissioner as the expiration date. And it was my understanding at that time that the JCDA would look into it with a legal review. And I think I've heard since then that they've added this inquiry to that analysis.
Commissioner Wexler?
I was just gonna say, I mean, you know, we put it off for what, two months now. And, I think when Jody said it, it was, you know, really important that we, that there's a lot going on, so. I think we ought to. I don't think we need one.
All right. Commissioner Malone?
Yeah, just a few thoughts. One, regardless of how we vote tonight, whether we defer it or we move forward with whoever's name, I want to thank Commissioner Jones because she actually referenced something in her comments. She referenced something about herself, and she referenced something about me. I have invested a lot of time when it comes to budgets and finance, that sort of thing. It is Commissioner Jones on that board is often reminding us that there are lives, that there are real people behind the finances, behind the numbers. And so I think to that board, she has brought a different perspective. You know, in many ways, Commissioner Tamita and I may tend to lean toward the finances and the numbers because that's you know, that's how we earn a living. That's or perhaps that's our strength rather than our weakness. So I just want to acknowledge Commissioner Jones' service and thank her for it. There's been a couple items that have been stated that are not quite fact. I think our county attorney referenced that the letter was from the city of Johnson City, and it's really the letter is from Jack Simpson as chair of the Johnson City Development Authority Board. I think Commissioner Tucker referenced that the letter was from the board. It's not. In fact, it was a result of that letter going out that some on the board said, wait, hold a minute, I think the JCDA needs a legal opinion. So the letter that was received was on JCDA letterhead. It was really a letter from a single individual, on that being the JCDA board chair, Jackson. So I just wanted to clear up who the letter is from. I think it's from the JCDA and Jack Simpson as chair, and it's not from the JCDA board, it's from the single individual. Thank you.
Commissioner Carter?
Well, I don't like how any of it's gone down. I mean, it's weird. Way back in my memory, there was something that Commissioner Malone, Commissioner Jones requested to be taken off of. Probably this could have been 5 months ago. Do you all remember that?
To give one of our commission seats on the TIF committee, which is a subcommittee of the JCDA, to a community member. And no one wanted the applicant we got, and so Commissioner Tamita took that seat. But I did offer to give my seat if a county commissioner wanted to serve, or I still see a community member on that board. That's a very small, infrequently meeting. It does a smaller job than the larger board.
I find it odd that you all would want off of a committee that deals with the JCDA and you're so intent on remaining on the JCDA. Why was there, it seemed like you both at the same time wanted off of that.
I think you may be misremembering because I don't.
Yeah, it could be.
I think similar to Commissioner Jones, I was willing to give up my position on the TIF Advisory Committee. I was willing to do so. I wasn't seeking to do so.
Okay.
And just to clarify my position, it's all about representation.
And so for the TIF committee, which just makes decisions about TIF funds, it's a very small, guardrails area. I felt that committee needed better community representation. And so here we are at the JCBA board, and I feel like, similarly, I have values around representation and feel like there should be representation specific to a project that really consumes my
Mr. Johnson?
The legal opinion, it won't change whether it goes through this commission or not. We'll still vote on it, so I don't see why we defer it, waiting for the legal opinion. Either way, we're gonna vote on sending it to commission. Am I correct?
Ms. Wilkinson, I'll let you answer that.
I've not seen, excuse me, I've not seen what the JCDA requested for review, and I stand corrected on the letter. Thank you, Commissioner Malone. But my expectation is that they're asking about the appointment and who has the authority. Effectively, this commission's resolution at this time would be moot. It would have little binding effect on the JCDA. That appointment should be made by Johnson City, the city of Johnson City. Under the bylaws of the JCDA, and I presume that that is the legal opinion that has been requested. That said, there's a custom and practice. My predecessor in the county attorney's office had left some handwritten notes, my immediate predecessor, that it was custom and practice. The bylaws do not have that information, but the resolution has come to you for the past few years with the custom that the commission tell the JCDA whom the commission has identified as the best candidates, with the expectation and understanding that the JCDA would take that recommendation to the city of Johnson City to make the appointment further to its bylaws. I don't know one way or the other whether that has occurred.
Commissioner Hofan?
So just to follow up on that, this, as you're interpreting now, no matter what we did, this would still go to the city commission for them to vote and make the final approval. Is that correct?
If that question was for me, Commissioner Huffine.
Yes, ma'am.
Indeed, that is my expectation, that would have happened in the past, which I don't have the verification of. That it is my expectation that it would be required for the JCDA to take what the commission says, and it would still have to go from the JCDA to make the recommendation to the city of Johnson City. So
My thought is, we're sitting here debating on, this commissioner wants that commissioner wants that. It's funny, we had a Sunday school lesson yesterday, and it's talking about leadership, good leadership, bad leadership, and the outcomes of that. I'm just saying, he's sitting here thinking, are we showing proper leadership? If it's a decision that we don't even make, there's 3 commissioners, there's 2 seats, the city's gonna make a decision, let them make a decision, and that way it's not creating any strife among our commission and which commissioner wants it, which commissioner gets it, or there's no repercussions to that. So I think we just let the city deal with it. If they come back and ask for something or empower us to make those nominations, then we can act on it and it'll be effective. That's my thoughts, just, sorry, sort of a common sense view.
All right, we have a motion to defer. We have a motion and second. Roll call has been requested. Madam Clerk, if you will switch us to the voting screen. We're voting to defer to our next meeting, I assume, Commissioner Jones?
Well, until that legal opinion is what I asked for.
Okay. All right. Madam Clerk, if you announce the vote. 5 yes, 9 no. And the motion to defer fails. Commissioner Wheeler?
Mr. Chairman, under Rule 6H, I call for a separated vote on this matter.
No, you go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioner. Just for good order, did I hear you say 6A?
No, 6H.
Thank you. I could not quite see how you got that. So that is a motions for the benefit of your colleagues. 6H states that motions that must be divided on demand, sometimes a series of independent resolutions or main motions is offered in one motion. In such a case, one or more of the several resolutions must receive separate consideration and vote at the request of a single commissioner. In this instance, that would be Commissioner Wheeler has raised that. Such a demand can be made even when another has the floor, as in, Mr. Chairman, I call for a separate vote on resolution number whatever it is. This demand must be asserted before the question on adopting the series has actually been put to vote. So in this instance, and correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner, it is the motion to defer that has been voted on, and the motion that would then be present would be as it's currently written in the packet, which would be to appoint Commissioners Tamita and Malone to the JCDA. And then your request is for a separate vote on that resolution. Is that correct?
That's correct, on each of the candidates being presented.
Meaning that then each of the individuals would be voted on. Is that your request?
That's correct. And I think Robert's rules clarifies our rule 6H. It makes it clear that that's an appropriate motion.
Thank you. I didn't.
In fact, it's not a motion.
That I had, want to make sure everybody understands procedurally what's been requested. So we've clarified that. So the request in front of the request has been made then that each of the individuals be voted on individually and not the resolution as a whole. Is that a fair summary?
That is correct, or to the extent necessary, you're separating it out and you're doing a resolution on each one, whichever the county attorney prefers.
All right. So we'll be voting individually. I'm sorry, Commissioner, have fun.
Yeah, just to make sure we are appropriate. The resolution as stated calls for reappointment. I think we need to change that to appointment. Obviously, one of the nominees is not currently a member of that committee, so it would not be a reappointment. One would be a reappointment, one would be an appointment. So we just need to make that distinguish. I just don't want us to have to come back and revisit this situation.
All right, is that a motion to amend the amend the resolution? Do I have a second? Second on the amendment? And we are amending. Commissioner Wexler, do you want to comment on the amendment or? Okay, go ahead.
I wanted to make sure I understood what the amendment said. So we're gonna vote yes or no if we want to appoint either Freddie or David to the JCDA. Is that the simplistic way of saying it? No.
Commissioner Huff.
Said right now, it says reappoint order, so I mean, it's proper.
Okay, so.
But one person would be in a reappointment, one person would be. The verbiage is. You can't appoint somebody that's. Proper. I think it's the name change, that was not, I think it's right.
All right, so we have, just on the amendment of the verbiage. Is there any objection on the amendment of the verbiage? Do we have a second?
I seconded it.
So you seconded, okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Is there any objection to amending the verbiage? Seeing none, all in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. All opposed? The amendment to the verbiage is passed. Ms. Wilkinson, if you'll make so note as to change that for the record.
Yes, sir, and it'll be changed in the title as well as in the body of the resolution to reflect recommendation for appointment and reappointment. Is that?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Now we're back to the original resolution. Have a motion to approve the original. Do we need to approve the original resolution or then vote on them separately, or how would that?
I think you divide it as to each of the nominees.
Okay, all right.
6H.
All right. So we'll be back to resolution 240605. And so the first one we'll take is who falls first on the resolution?
Commissioner Tamita is the first name that's mentioned as recommended by the county.
All right. Commissioner Tamita would fall first on the resolution being recommended. All in favor of that motion, or do we have a motion and a second to recommend Commissioner Tamita? Motion made by Commissioner Wexler. Second by Commissioner Tucker to recommend Commissioner Tamita as one person on being recommended on 240605. Is there any question or discussion?
Chairman, I think the way it's divided, it would require a roll call on both of them. If it is the resolution, so you're effectively voting on the resolution.
I don't think so, not to the end, would you? I mean, because you can't really pass the resolution without two. So it don't matter. All right. All right, so I actually would vote on it in the front end and then do a third vote on the back end instead of the front end. So you learn something new every day, you know? All right. So our first consideration, you said was Commissioner Tamita that appeared on the resolution first. All right, do we have a motion for Commissioner Tamita? Motion by Commissioner Wexler. Have a second for Commissioner Tamita. Commissioner Davenport.
There was a motion on the floor, Mr. Chairman, which was the motion was by Commissioner Wexler with a second by Tucker.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was behind on that one. Right. So we have a motion and second here. Any questions before we vote?
And I just want to, if a computer will take the full vote like this, you don't have to vote the third time. My understanding was that you couldn't use it twice on the same resolution. So I mean, it's supposed to be divided to have the two separate votes, and it'll stand alone as to whatever the vote is, and they'll be summarized in this one resolution. You don't have to take a third vote. I misunderstood what you meant.
So, but here's the problem. They're just voting yes or no. So is that the thing where we want to clarify what we're voting for? Is it be yes, you would be selecting Commissioner Tamita, and no, you would not be selecting Commissioner Tamita?
Yes, sir.
Correct?
Clarify the question.
All right. All right. So any questions? Yes, you are selecting Commissioner Tamita. No, you are not selecting Commissioner Tamita. Any questions before we vote? Seeing no questions, Madam Clerk, switch us to the voting screen. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote. 9 yes, 3 no, 1 abstain, and 1 absent. And Commissioner Tamita is selected. The next person to be considered on this resolution is Commissioner Malone. We have a motion and second to select Commissioner Malone. Commissioner England makes the motion. Commissioner Jones seconds. Is there any question or discussion? Remember when you select, yes, you are selecting, no, you are not. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote. 11 yes, 1 no, 1 abstained, and 1 absent. Going back to the original motion, Commissioner Tamita and Commissioner Malone were both selected. And that's resolution 240605. For good measure, we'll go ahead and motion to approve the resolution. Motion made by Commissioner Tucker, seconded by Commissioner Wexler. Madam Clerk, is there any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote. 12 yes, 1 abstained, 1 absent. The resolution passes.
Mr. Chairman, all of these votes will be reflected on the final resolution that'll be signed.
Thank you. Along with the changes to the verbiage.
Yes, sir.
Another item is our notaries, resolution 240831. The resolution approving the election of notaries public for appointment or reappointment for Washington County, Tennessee. Mr. Wexler? Motion to approve.
I want to 6H that and separate each one of those.
Well, I'll second that. I'll take that second. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner England. Any discussion? Seeing Seeing none, all in favor of the resolution for the notaries, signify by saying aye. Oh, I'm sorry, that's a resolution. We gotta switch back over. Madam Clerk, if you'll take us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 13 yes, 1 absent, and the resolution passes. The next item under new business was a discussion of the appointment of the 9th District Commissioner. Normally, this is a very straightforward process that comes and you go down the list. It tells you how many days you got, when's the last day. The election commission, Ms. Jones does a great job at being able to come back and say, this is the day, this is how we do it. And that's how we standardly do that. This time it's a little bit different. And since we have an election so close, so I'm going to help Ms. Wilkinson help you understand a little bit more about why we're coming to you tonight for you all to consider. You may need to consider our way forward a little bit. Ms. Wilkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll keep it very brief. I know that you've had a long meeting. The chairman's correct that these are very straightforward, but the law does always apply to the facts. The facts are the dates and the timeline. So this is the rule, that the legislative body is required by statute to fill a vacancy within 120 days of notice of the vacancy, unless during that period, the 120 days, there's a general election scheduled in the county and there's sufficient time for the vacancy to be placed on the ballot. In this instance, the timeline is that the 120-day deadline would fall on October 16th by my calculations, which was triggered by the death of Commissioner Williams in District 9. And so by October 16th, the commission would have to make the appointment. But there is in fact a vacancy, there is in fact an election within there. So normally the commission must make the appointment within 120 days unless this occurs. And it's not something that can be excused. In this instance, because there's an election, the commission has the discretion at some level, the way this particular statute is written, when there is an election, that if the commission chose to make the appointment and wanted to proceed in that way, it is my understanding from counsel for the election office in the Secretary of State's office that we would not be inconsistent with Tennessee law. And I know that probably sounds like it runs in a bit of circles, but usually there's much brighter line test there. And so in this instance, you could make the appointment. And I think that it would be important for this commission to determine whether it thinks that it's in the best interest of Washington County to make this appointment, and someone would then serve for the interim, because there is an election, there is a ballot, and there will be someone who will be elected by the people. So you are really addressing an appointment for this interim period before the November 5th, 2024 election.
So we appreciate you explaining that to us. I mean, our biggest, one of our biggest concerns is we'll have to make that appointment here our next commission meeting, and we'll have to prepare the notice to go out.
Yes, sir.
And how long was the notice? 10 days?
Under a separate statute, it is a 7-day notice that's required that the county will tell the public, and it has to be published in the newspaper. So that's why you're thinking 10 days, because we always get it out a little in advance to be sure that it's published. At least 7 days prior to the meeting, a newspaper of general circulation shall publish the office that is to be filled.
Okay. Commissioner Wheeler?
I was one of the people that Mr. Williams expressed her preference to. And also, Dr. Jack Williams has asked me that, you know, what could be done to honor that wish and fill that seat for the remainder of the term. I'd also brought up before that when we first talked about this, that I didn't like the idea of those people in that district going up unrepresented for any period of time. There's a potential for 3 months of representation here. We don't know in the presidential year whether they'll get the election results certified prior to our meeting in November. So that's a possibility of 3 months. And I would suggest that we honor her request and that we put that on the, we asked them to put that notice out and appoint at the beginning of our next meeting. We don't have to have a call meeting. If we do it at the beginning of the meeting, he can be sworn in, he or she, or whoever we appoint. Again, I'm only saying he because I do support honoring her wish there. But we'll have the opportunity to appoint whoever we want to appoint if we do that. And so I would make a motion that we direct that the notice be put in the paper that we will make that appointment at our next meeting.
Right, do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Tabita. Motion was made by Commissioner Wheeler. So we have a motion, and a second to add that to our next month's agenda with the proper advertisement and notice. Commissioner Jones?
I'll vote no on this one. Of course, Susie is a dear, it still is in some way a dear friend of mine, and I certainly do my wishes as well. And one of the things that was so great about our friendship is that we frequently disagreed. I disagreed with her on filling the seat so close to an election. The incredible thing about the election in District 9 is that there are actually 3 candidates from the Democrat, the Independent, and a Republican. And it's so rare in this county that people in any district have any kind of choices. And that there are candidates out there, talking points that elevate debate and discussion. I think it's a marvelous thing for District 9. I think it's great for the convention body, that the public is going to have this chance to make this decision. And I think that if we unfairly give somebody our approval in advance of that election, we're undermining the democratic process.
Any further questions or discussion? Questions been called? All in favor of the motion and second, signify by saying aye. All opposed? And the ayes have it. We will prepare that notice for our next meeting and make sure that is correctly placed on the agenda. With all the help of that from our county attorney. Thank you, Allison.
My pleasure.
For all you do for us. All right. Final announcement this evening is the September 12th cutoff for the county commission agenda at 12 noon. Appreciate you all and all that you do, and thank you. We have a motion to adjourn. Motion adjourned by Commissioner Wexler, seconded by Commissioner Jones. All in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye. Aye.
Not everyone identified 4 committees, and I presume that that means that the committee on committees will then fill in for you. So if you want to change that, Commissioners Fitzgerald, Edens, England, Malone, Huffine, or Wheeler